Most guys choose their tires on how they look instead of how they perform. And what most don't realize is this costs you out in the bush when you least expect it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Love 4x4, where we speak everything 4x4 and what some of the most essential items is when you're looking to make your next big purchase or when you are looking to head out on your next 4x4ing adventure. In this week's episode, we've got a jam-packed episode where we talk about tires. Tires is probably one of the most important aspects on any motor vehicle accessory, as it is your contact point between yourself and the road. Just a quick disclaimer, this episode is not sponsored. So these views and some of the brands I mentioned are not sponsored. It's just a personal preference. We've been in the industry for just short of 40 years. So throughout the years of experience and what we've witnessed out in the industry, we take that to heart and we utilize it, and we utilize all the information we have so that we can give back to you guys the best and most accurate opinion we possibly may have. Yes, I am biased. I have got my personal preferences, but this will definitely not impact on your decision on choosing your next 4x4ing tire. Some of the talking points for this episode is the tire contact points, obviously RT, MT, AT. What does this all mean, and where do we have to go along to make sure that we're choosing our best application for the road? Cheap versus expensive, we won't be touching on pricing in this episode. However, we will give some sort of indication on what some of the cheaper brands are doing, how well are they performing, and where this may go for the future, especially in the tire industry. There's been a bit of a shake-up with the Chinese tires entering the market. And then, of course, some practicality points, whether big is better, pressures and stuff like that. So stay tuned, we've got a jam-packed episode ahead of us. So guys, before we get into it, what do the symbols mean on all our tires? You guys have seen it before: AT, MT, and now one that's recently got into the industry a couple of years ago is RT. So what does this all mean? Well, let's kick it off. AT, pretty simple. It's an all-terrain tire. Now, where this tire wins is in your daily driving experience and pretty much your all-round rugged use. You guys can use this on several different vehicles, including SUVs and of course your local bakkies. Where it performs is obviously gravel roads. We normally try and tell the customers we have a delicate balance on an AT, whether it would be 60% dirt road and the 40% highway application. This obviously gives you the better longevity of the other two options that we have mentioned before, the RT and the MT. Reason being is that this is more road application tire. So with well maintenance and good and looking after as far as pressures and road conditions are considered, this tire is probably your one that is going to last you the longest. Where it struggles is, of course, some of the more rugged terrain, the muddier conditions. The very 4x4 enthusiastic applications are more acceptable for those sort of terrains, whereas the all-terrain is just that. Basically, I like to put it into simple terms. When we head down to the Wild Coast, we know we've got 60 k's worth of dirt that we need to travel. So those 60 k's would lead me more into making sure that I have got to have the all-terrain application put involved. Whether you're an overlander and you're heading out into the sand dunes of the Namibian bushveld or wherever it may be, other applications are going to be better for that. So if you're predominantly farmers' wives, farmers, guys that are constantly riding good quality dirt roads, the all-terrain might not be a bad option to consider. Having the price is a lot better than some of our RT and MT applications, but also just noise application is also better. And then of course the big one, the longevity. Fuel consumption also plays a role here in a very small percentage of tires, but if you are looking 70% road and 30% bush application, or vice versa, 40% tar road application, 60% dirt road. This is your perfect go-to tire. RT application, well, what does RT stand for? Rugged terrain. Now, I mentioned in the opening part of this video that rugged terrain recently came into the industry. It's been in the industry for some time now, and I mean probably in the past, say 10-15 years has it really shown its face. I know Cooper were one of the first ones bringing in the ST Max into the industry. And since then, a couple of the cheaper brands, the cheaper Chinese imported tires, and some of the more exclusive tire brands have also run their applications more into the rugged terrain. Now, this is obviously a more aggressive tread pattern than your ATs. Majority of them come with stronger sidewall. Some of these tires are 10-ply applications, and when I say 10-ply, 3-ply sidewalls, better in mud terrain than the all-terrain, of course. Still decent on tar. However, where it does struggle is that it's slightly noisier than the all-terrain, and of course with those more exclusive or those more extreme 4x4 application conditions, the RT does not do well in those sort of circumstances. This is where most serious outdoor hunters, overlanders, enthusiasts will be looking. This is kind of your guys' area, because I know a lot of getting to the place requires a lot of tar road and rugged dirt road applications. This is your more overall tire for the outdoor enthusiasts, the outdoor sportsmen, the campers, the hunters, and those sort of guys. So RT, rugged terrain, and then of course we get into the third application, the mud terrain tires. Now, these are where the extreme off-roaders normally hang around. Before this, I was kind of in that bracket. I'm a hunter and an outdoor enthusiast, so we always used to go for the stronger application, which was the mud terrain. But like I said, since recent times, the RT has come on and it's bridged that gap between the all-terrain and the mud terrain. Has kind of become that in-betweener. So these are for now the more off-road enthusiastic individuals. These are for extreme mud off-road mining applications. These come with maximum tire traction, so of course we're looking at around that 80% off-road capabilities with that 20% tar road and dirt road use. These are extremely noisy. They often wear a lot faster than your RT and AT applications. And then, of course, with the higher lugs and the more aggressive to them, they obviously come with a higher fuel consumption rate. Unless you're properly off-roading majority of the time, this, in today's world, might be a little bit of an overkill. To summarize everything, AT is a daily and light off-road application. RT is your balanced performance, whether you are the hunter, camper, outdoor enthusiast. RT is kind of your bracket, and then the mud is, of course, now the extreme all-terrain and extreme off-road driver. So now that we've touched base on what the RT, AT, and MT all stand for, let's just give some basic information that I'm pretty sure majority of the enthusiasts watching this video would understand. But that's all got to do with sizing. Now, in South Africa, we use a simple sizing chart of for instance, if you are driving your normal standard D4D, maybe the Legend 45, you're running 17 inches. So your tire size application will look something like this, 265/65 R17. Now, what does this mean? Well, 265 is the tread width. The 65 in the middle is 65% of the actual tread width that we mentioned. And the 17 inch is not the total outer diameter, but the diameter on the inner side of those tires where your mag would seat and sit. So, generally speaking, some individuals would like to go a little bit higher, a little bit lower. When you pop down to your nearest 4x4 center or your tire fitment shops, The guys would have a chart there where they can balance it out accordingly, where you don't lose on the footprint on the road and rather increase the percentage of sidewall. So for instance, this example that we used was a 265, 65, 17. And if you're looking for a little bit more height on the sidewall, you could go to a 265 70 R17, and that's with a roughly 13 millimeter increase overall diameter. Cool guys, now while we've got the basics out of the way, I'm going to give you what my vehicle setup is. Like I said, I'm an enthusiastic hunter. I do a lot of dirt road driving. I do a lot of tar road driving, but so too, I love every weekend to head out into the bush and do what I'm extremely passionate about. So currently I'm running the 265 65 R18 Maxxis all-terrain 8 double ones. Now the reason why I went with this application is with the 3-ply sidewall and the overall 10-ply application of tire. This for me has been a no-brainer. It gives me the best of both worlds. It's an extremely durable tire. The tread pattern is obviously an all-terrain, so my fuel consumption isn't through the roof. It gives me optimal amount of comfort on the dirt road, and I get to have that flexibility of playing around with my pressures when I do head out into the bush, going with that little bit of a softer pressure so that it can actually hug the terrain instead of just trying to spin my way over it. But we'll get into pressures and application a little bit later. We've spoken about tire size, and now we get into the good part. We need to chat about tire pressure. Now, where people get it wrong is that tire pressure needs to be checked regularly at cold temperatures. Now, the reason why I say cold temperatures is because when you are heading out and you are traveling quite a bit of distance, your tire builds up heat, and often adding extra 0.2 bars onto your current cold pressure. So keeping that in mind, so if you're pumping your tires, like for myself for instance, my cold pressures are always 1.8, so that I know when I hit the open road, it will always build itself up to that 2 bar comfort range. I've always found that 2 bars for me when I'm not hunting is the optimal amount of pressure in that tire, because it gives me a little bit of best of both worlds. It gives me great comfort, but also it gives me the peace of mind that my tires aren't overworking themselves as far as the tread is concerned. So now when it gets to terrain, you want to run a softer pressure. There's a reason for that, and there's a very simple way we can overcome that. If you look at a balloon and you pump the balloon to an extremely hard pressure, it takes a lot less force for that nail to pierce that balloon. And now you can think of it pretty much like a stone or any sharp object when you are out in the bush, that the harder your tire is, the easier it is for objects to penetrate. The softer, the more opportunity it gives the tire to actually hug those objects and not piercing them as easy as what it would be under hard pressure. The second thing is, if you are running hard pressures, there might be a couple of opportunities when you are out in the bush where you might have a little bit of traction issues. Now that's just pure physics, right? So the harder the tire, the less opportunity it has to fold around the object, gaining more traction to pull itself out. And often we see on a lot of 4x4 application vehicles with all-terrains, RTs and MTs, is that the lugs are actually tearing off on certain scenarios. And that's just because the pressures are a little bit too hard for that application of use. And the reason for that is that the tire is spinning at a high velocity, and then we call it chipping and chunking the tread out of the actual tire, breaking that tire up, and therefore losing a lot of life when it comes to your off-road application. Like I said, tires have bridged the gap between the all-terrain and the mud terrain by utilizing the RT. But in this development of these tires, they have also utilized and made a stronger application tire. Whereas previously, tires used to come out with a 2-ply sidewall that was a general construction using a lot less rubber to construct the actual tire. Now a lot of tires are utilizing the 3-ply sidewall approach. So don't be scared to use that to your advantage by deflating your tires on certain applications, where it be sandy conditions, rocky conditions. Sometimes you can run those pressures as low as a 1 bar just to make sure you get yourself out of them. And with the extra tread often highlighted on the tire on the sidewall, it utilizes that to the best of its ability and helping you get a little bit more traction, increasing the footprint over the path, and therefore you have more traction to get yourself out of trouble. So how do you save your tires and how do you look after your tires for the long run, right? Well, here's a couple of tips. Of course, we've spoken intensively about pressures. Second thing is rotating your tires. Now, for the great part of it, everyone likes to think that rotating your tires every once in a while is a great way of making sure that your tires last a little bit longer. Whether that could be off further from the truth. And the truth is that every 10,000 Ks, your vehicle needs to be constantly checked for wheel alignment and, of course, doing your annual rotation. And that might be whether from front to back or the crisscross option. So utilize that as much as you possibly can. And, of course, many tire fitment centers out there will always do a thorough inspection check before doing wheel alignment, therefore picking up any sort of damages you might have occurred out in the bush. And last and definitely not least, of course, suspension plays a massive role in the longevity of your tires. Any damaged or worn out suspension parts, whether it be shocks, ball joints, rack ends, you name it, might have lasting implications on your tire tread. Now, an interesting fact about this is that people need to understand that once a tire has got any sort of wheel alignment damaged wear or suspension wear tire, it's very difficult to stop that tire from wearing continuously in those sort of patterns. So what I mean by this, if you've got a wheel alignment damaged tire and it's wearing off on the inside, to stop that wearing off on the inside might be next to impossible. Some people have got it right by swapping the tire on the rim. However, this is not a foolproof plan. So making sure that your vehicle is constantly checked for any damaged parts and making sure that you constantly do your wheel alignment is just an added benefit to getting the most out of your most expensive set of tires. To all my overlanding and farmers that love to load feed on the back of their pickups or bakkies, guys, understand that your tires aren't the ideal flexion point for your vehicles. So don't utilize your tire pressures to make sure that that feed doesn't add extra weight to the suspension marks. What I mean by this is that often we have seen that individuals that have extra load on the back of their vehicles often increase the tire pressures just to compensate the weight load. And this isn't the correct way of going about it. 4x4 centers have a wonderful option of adding in airbag suspension. Yes, it might be a little bit more expensive now, but for the long run, it might save you a pretty penny. Now we get into the good part. What tires mean for your application and my personal choices. I will have 3 choices on each application: all-terrain, RT, and MT. And that way you guys can choose between some of those 3 applications when selecting your next tire for any one of your bakkies or SUVs. So kicking off with AT, my premium choice is definitely the Maxxis AT 811s. These have been fantastic for me. I recently just put a new set on my 2.8 GD6 and I changed them at almost 57,000 kilometers. They're an exceptional tire. They have lasted me for my hunting career. They've always been there for me, and I really enjoy the Maxxis tire. Getting down to the more cost affordable tires, and when we talk about that, I'm talking about local manufacturers, and there are some exceptional ones out there. The 2 that come to mind for me is the Bridgestone 82. It's been a fantastic tire. We have fitted a bunch of them in recent weeks, and they have been performing exceptionally well, both in the wet and on some of the dirt road applications that we have utilized them. So Bridgestone 82 is an exceptional tire to bridge that gap. There's a couple of great ones out there, such as the General TYRE 83. That's also a wonderful application for an SUV or bakkie that heads to the farm every now and then. And these are some exceptional tires that we have out on the market today. And then getting into your more budget ranged side of things, we've had some exceptional feedback from the Radar and as well as the Falcon AT. Heading into the RT section, this is the one for the big boys, the camping enthusiasts, the weekend warriors, the hunters, the professional hunters, the guys that are hitting the terrain hard. So when it comes to RT, I think there's an undisputed champion, and they have been for a couple of years now, but I have yet to see a tire come close to this application as the Cooper ST Max. However, price might hurt them in some scenarios, but if price is not what you're worried about and you want the best performance out of your tire, the Cooper ST Max is definitely one to not be overlooked. And then more in the more budget range side of things, we've had some exceptional feedback from the Patriots. The Patriots have performed on the next level. They've been outstanding. Their tread lug is a lot more quieter than what was expected, and they've got the self-cleaning mechanism in between the tread that helps with mud clunk up and gets rid of the excess mud as needed. So the Patriots have really outperformed majority of the imported brands that have come into the country. Now we get to the extreme off-roading enthusiasts, the mud terrain boys, the guys that are heading out into the extreme off-road conditions, whether you're climbing up Swanee Pass or heading into one of the 4x4 challenges over the past couple of weekends. This one is for you guys. Now Maxxis make an exceptional MT, and it's for the life of me, I think it holds its own, and it's got that little bit of a feel between an RT and an MT, as it's one of the most quieter mud terrains on the road at the moment, but also one of the most effective. Having a nice close lug to one another prevents a lot of stone trapping, and of course that mud buildup that often helps us out of tough situations. Another one to mention is the General Grabber X3. It's also been an exceptional mud terrain tire, also with the 10-ply construction, and it's a fantastic tire for any road use application. But when it comes to noise, you're going to have to make sure you've got a great sound system to turn it up on those tar road conditions. Hey guys, once again, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Love 4x4 channel. If you guys haven't yet, hit the subscribe button down below, turn on the notifications. Every little bit helps by growing this channel. So from myself, Dylan Love, and the whole Love 4x4 crew, we just want to say thank you, and as always, be safe on the road.